And hi again, everybody. We welcome you to the Ed Cooley Radio Show, presented by East Commerce Solutions. Tonight, we are at Union Station Brewery in downtown Providence. I'm John Rooke with the voice of the Friars, along with Ed Cooley, the head coach of the Friars. And we're glad that you're with us here at Union Station tonight as, ta-da, the next Ed Cooley Radio Show, a 5-1 team to talk about, Coach. So, in all, you have to be, I think, somewhat pleased with that, especially coming off of a 20-point win on, when was it? Saturday, right? Against Boston College. And it has been a little bit of a struggle the last couple of years with BC. And I know that's a game that you would very much like to have because of your time spent on that campus as well. But you were able to finally get things done. I thought the team played one of its most complete games overall of the year.
I'd agree with that. I thought we were able to put a whole scouting report together. We knew we were playing against a really, really competitive backcourt, one of the best backcourts in the country. I thought Kyron, I thought Malik, Drew, Alpha, and Makai, I thought they really stepped up to the challenge to guard them. We showed some film from a year ago. Boston College is a totally complete program right now. I think they're on the rise. And, I got to give our crowd a lot of credit. They helped us with it. Great crowd, and it was a really good team win.
What was it about Boston College that brought your guys out a little bit? Because you just said complete team, and I'm just kind of curious because we've seen you play in spurts. Minnesota was a great team earlier. Was it just too early in the season? Have you guys developed? Have you gotten the younger guys to buy in a little bit more? What was it about Boston College that made this a complete effort for you guys?
Well, I thought we had their attention a little bit more after the Belmont. And as I try to tell everybody about Belmont, one of the tougher teams to prepare for that we've scouted. They do a really good job against your zone, against man. And I thought our players felt some ownership in that game. We got bailed out, obviously got bailed out with Kyron making that great shot at the end of the game from the top of the key. I thought we were dialed more into detail and scouting, especially our young guys who haven't been basically force-fed scouting reports.
Sure.
So I thought we were just more attentive to detail, and I thought our staff did a really good job.
Kyron has an ability to just take over a game. Obviously, we'll talk about Belmont in just a minute, but he did that at the end. His job, we know, is to facilitate, make others better. You hear that about point guards all the time. The guy's not really a great player unless he makes other players great around him. But sometimes guys just have to kind of put the team on their shoulders and take a team as far as they can take them. I thought he did a little bit more of that on Saturday night like he did against Belmont on Wednesday.
I tell Kyron he's better than he thinks he is. Kyron is a dynamic talent. He can score it in a lot of different ways. We're trying to get him to be more efficient offensively as far as how aggressive he wants to be.
Right.
Because we always know he can see the floor from day one. I think he's one of the few natural point guards in the country. But now we're trying to get him to be more aggressive and look at the basket. So kudos to him and his development. And when he plays well, Providence College is a really good basketball team.
We'd be remiss on Saturday if we didn't mention Rodney Bullock. Hit the 1,001st point of his Providence College career. 48th player in school history to hit 1,000 for his career. I think anybody that scores 1,000 points in college basketball is a pretty good player.
Right. Rodney is one of these guys who – you have to tell him to be assertive because he's by nature he wants to be a flatliner.
Yeah.
Wonderful young man. He just doesn't play with a lot of emotion. And I think if we can get him to play with a little bit more emotion, a little bit more enthusiasm, because his effort is there.
Right.
And I think sometimes we as adults and we as his coaches see there's so much more in him when he plays with a little bit more fire in his belly. Not that he's not a fire person. He just doesn't express it enough.
All right, before we dial it back to the previous game, your thoughts on the two-headed center. We've used that term already a couple of times this year, especially on this program, between Khalif Young and your freshman Nate Watson. I thought maybe your two-headed center had its best game of the year, too, on Saturday.
I think they're getting better and better each game. Again, if I can dial it back to the Belmont game, really hard to play them with a hybrid five-man who can shoot threes. They're not as comfortable playing on the perimeter as we want them to be. So their development is coming with that. But in saying that, 5 out of the 6 games that we've played, we feel they've gotten better in each of those games as far as moving their feet, scoring it around the basket. What they have to do a better job of is rebounding the ball better from that position. So if we can average a double-double with those guys at the 5 position, combining their stats, we feel we can have a lot moving forward, especially once we get to Big East play. So I don't know what it was the other day, but I bet it was really close to they got a double-double. Each game, I think they've been a double-double with the exception of Belmont.
Yeah, it was. You had 11 points, and I think I'm trying to remember off the top of my head because I don't have the box. Oh, here it is, right here. Box score will tell us right here, Coach. They had, let's see. This makes great radio, I know. 9 points, 11 points, and 5, and where is Khalif? 14 rebounds.
Right.
11 points, 14 rebounds. There's your double-double.
I'll take that all day long. And I think those numbers will grow, especially the scoring part, because we emphasize throwing the ball inside. We're excited about those two guys. They give us a promising future moving forward.
All right, well, you keep bringing it up, so I guess we will step back in time a little bit to a week ago. Belmont on the previous Wednesday, and I think we saw that that Belmont Bruins team is a quality basketball team. It's a quality program. It's been a good program, quality program for a number of years, even though it gets stuck with that mid-major label. In fact, you could probably even say they were a low major for a long time because they moved straight from NAIA ranks to NCAA Division I back in 1996. And so this program has continued to kind of stay on the rise. But in the last 3 or 4 years, they've knocked off programs like North Carolina, like Alabama, like South Carolina. I mean, there have been a bunch of teams, named schools that they have beaten, and they almost got you on Wednesday.
They really did. You know, a big key in that game, huge key in that game. Now, the last 6 points that they scored was totally scouted, and we had some brain malfunctions with our defense. We had the last 6 points, we had some really bad brain deformalities.
Yeah.
But what was really impressive about that is when the kid made the alley-oop layup to put them up 2 with 4 seconds to play, 3.7 seconds. Mm-hmm. What a lot of people didn't see was how Kyron batted the ball to Jalen. Jalen inbound, and I'm calling timeout. And then when I saw Kyron had the ball coming up the floor, I backed off.
You just backed off, yeah.
I'm literally calling timeout. So Kyron bats it to him, gets it above the three-point line, and takes 3 steps. You know, I always tell him when you're at the end of the game, so many times you see players go 1-2 step and, kind of throw a heave.
Yeah.
I always tell him, get your feet underneath you and take a real shot. Now, Kyron is one of the fastest dudes I've ever coached. So he was able to not only bat it out of there, and again, I knew the basket counted. I just didn't know if it was a 2 or a 3. But I definitely knew the ball
He got it off
the
before,
ball left, and then like another half second later, I heard the horn. But I was too upset at our defense going after a couple of our guys because we had totally scouted everything that they did. And from a preparation standpoint, I know you got to move on. I'm still learning how to move on. You know what I mean? I was just, I'm not there yet. I'm still thinking about it. I'm getting mad as we're sitting here. But it was a hell of a win for the Friars.
It was a great win. I mean, sometimes, good teams figure out a way to win games that they probably don't deserve to win. You did that.
We did. And those games, and for our Friar faithful, I'm pretty sure you've seen this many times. All of you that are here today have seen us play well, get close, and all of a sudden we're not on the winning side. I've been in those games. I've coached in those games. I've been on the other bench in some of those games. It's frustrating. It's really frustrating. I don't know if we deserved to win, but divine providence was on our side, and we were able to pull out a win against a team that I feel will win plus 25 games this year.
It was one of the more exciting games, and certainly probably you'd have to say one of the most exciting last 10 seconds of a game at the Dunkin' Donuts Center, maybe in a long time, maybe even ever, when you consider what transpired in the last 10 seconds of that basketball game.
I'm trying to remember. First of all, there were 2 big free throws made by a gentleman nobody didn't expect to make. And if people in this audience today thought that Khalif Young was going to make 2 free throws.
Right.
If they say, "Oh, Ed, I believe that Santa's going to leave coal in their stocking,"
right?
Absolutely going to leave coal in their stocking. And then Rodney made 2 big free throws to tie it. So our free throw shooting was really good that day.
You were 10 for 10 from the line. You needed every one of them.
Every last one. And then miracles do happen, but I think the game that reminds me most of that was Pop Lewis's corner jump shot against Georgetown.
Yeah.
I think it was
87.
Was it 87?
87.
Was 87 corner jump shot against Georgetown was the last time I could remember a game coming down to the wire. And I also was on the other side when we played Providence when I was at Boston College for the conference regular season championship when Augustin missed the elbow jump shot that would have won the game and won the regular season championship.
Remember that one?
Providence
Yeah,
College.
Rome Augustine. Yeah, John. Yeah, all that. Right.
I remember that. So those are the games that kind of bring memories back. Dunkin' Donuts Center is a pretty special place to play for us.
Yeah, well, it was a special place last Wednesday night as well. Friars got the win. Now you've improved yourself to 5-1, so you've got 4 in a row to kind of build on a little bit. Team is learning as we go, and we'll talk about how that team is beginning to develop with especially some of the younger players and how they're figuring into the mix. We'll also take a look at the road ahead because there's a game against Rider College coming up on Wednesday at the Dunkin' Donuts Center, and we know it's the big elephant in the room. We'll spend at least a little bit of time, or at least as much as he'll let me spend tonight, talking about URI on Saturday, the matchup down at the Ryan Center in Kingston. So again, this is the Ed Cooley Radio Show presented by East Commerce Solutions. Tonight, we're at Union Station Brewery in downtown Providence. We're glad you're with us on 103.7 WEEI FM.
Company design a program to fit your needs and budget. Call Eston and Richard at 401-766-4200. We will solve your insurance problems.
I buy all my Ford F-150s.
Only from Flood Ford
in East Greenwich.
And Flood Ford Lincoln in Narragansett. They have the best selection.
And service.
Rock bottom pricing.
And the most helpful staff.
In all new Ford F-150s starting at just $149 per month. Shop Flood Ford today.
Flood Ford and Flood Ford Lincoln, Rhode Island's #1 Ford F-150 dealer.
With Cox high-speed internet, you get access to super-fast in-home Wi-Fi to power all your devices and do the things you love online. And now, when you're traveling, you have free access to the nation's largest Wi-Fi network with over 500,000 hotspots, so you can stay connected in places such as New York City, Los Angeles, Washington, D.C., Phoenix, and many more. Learn how with the Cox Discover More video series at cox.com/learn.
I'm John Rooke, the voice of your Providence College Friars men's basketball team. It's that time of year again. And there's nothing like a sold-out crowd at the Dunkin' Donuts Center. One thing I've learned calling Friar basketball over the years is that anything can happen on game day. Legends have played on this court, creating memories that have lasted a lifetime. It's time to make more. This is Friar Town.
For the game. For my team. For bragging rights. For the stage. Ocean State Tip-Off Tournament. Are you in?
In the blink of an eye, cities fall, heroes rise. A heartbeat skips as a man slips gravity's grip, and heartbreak leaps from the brink in a blink. Just think of all the games, teams, hopes, and dreams that live and die because greatness lies in the blink of an eye. This is the sports app on Contour from Cox. Cable TV reimagined to get you right to the good stuff.
Once again, welcome back to the Ed Cooley Radio Show, presented by East Commerce Solutions. Again tonight from Union Station Brewery in downtown Providence. John Rooke with the head coach of the Friars, Ed Cooley. And for those of you that like to ask questions of the coach from time to time, each week we entertain questions. You just submit them via Twitter by hitting the hashtag AskCoachCooley. And we'll get to as many of those as we possibly can. In the meantime, Coach, off to the 5-1 start, as we just kind of talked about. But I think it's pretty clear to see for those that may not have, especially for those that may not have seen the team or heard much about the team yet this year. It's a different philosophy. You still want to get out and get up and down the floor, and you still obviously predicated on good shots and being able to control tempo and all that kind of stuff. But you're doing it with more than 6 or 7 or 8 players than like you did in the past couple of years. Now you've got a legit 10, sometimes even 11 deep on your roster where you're rotating guys in and out, and you're making mass substitutions in the first 4, 5, 6 minutes of the game. Now, it seems like at the beginning, maybe that's a little disconcerting, but I'm sure that there is a sort of a method to your madness. I wonder if you might take a couple of moments to explain what your thought process is on trying to work these players into your rotation and strengthen out and then utilize this depth that you obviously have as an advantage over opposing teams.
Well, I got a stat today from Arthur Parks. I think we've outscored our opponents from the bench by 110 points. Our benches, I think, scored 40% of our offense is coming from our bench.
Mm-hmm.
So that is key. The mass substitutions, we're still trying to get a feel of what combinations work. So we're still a work in progress. Obviously, with Emmett being out changes the dynamic of our team on how we spread the floor. But in saying that, through 6 games since I've been here at Providence, now on our 7th season, through the first 6 games, I think is the most points we've averaged in the first 6 games. I think we're right around 80 points a game right now. So the ball is moving. We're shooting less threes and making more, if that makes sense. From
higher percentage.
A higher percentage.
Last 2 games, you're combined 8 for 11.
Is that right?
Yeah.
For the last 2 games?
Last 2 games.
Oh, wow. God bless us. Wow, that's pretty good.
I can double-check that real fast, but I believe it's the last 2.
The substitution pattern.
You're better than that. Last 2 games, you're 16 out of 39. That's right. It seemed like 8 for 11. You've hit 8 of your last. Jalen Lindsey has hit 8 of his last 11.
Okay.
The team for the last 2 games is 16 for your last 39, so just below 50%.
That's pretty good. I'll take that all day, every day if we can do that. We're just trying to continuously look at combinations of what can work, what guards play well with what. When you have that many players that all can get on the floor, you're constantly looking for what's the right rotation.
Mm-hmm.
And we haven't found that out yet.
Yeah. So part of that then is an experiment, really, is it not? I mean, just to try to figure out who you can play and who you can plug in at certain times and who you can count on and who's reliable and who's not. And realizing, of course, all along, I think, Coach, that young freshmen are going to make mistakes, but that's not going to keep you necessarily from plugging them in if you need them, is it?
Right. Well, the 2 freshmen that are playing a majority of the minutes are Makai and Nate.
Mm-hmm.
And, Makai is playing behind arguably one of the best point guards in the country right now in Kyron. And, we're splitting time between Khalif and Nate,
mm-hmm.
and they're 2 totally different offensive players. Defensively, I feel Khalif is ahead of Nate just on know-how, and his feet are a little bit faster in ball screens, and he's able to play ball screen defense a little bit differently. Offensively, I think Nate in front of the rim is a little bit more explosive. So, there's give and take on both sides. On your wings, we got a plethora of wings, and, we really don't have what I would say is a backup stretch 4-man. So that's where Emmett's loss is really his size, his ability to create a matchup. That is kind of what is really messing with the rotation a little bit.
All right, so while, you've got extra time now for these young players to play, is your strategy changed at all? I mean, is the idea literally to try to wear other teams down and or out? Because it certainly seemed like you did that in New York against St. Louis. It eventually caught up. Almost didn't, but it did against Belmont. And I thought your depth was a huge factor against Boston College on Saturday.
Well, the one thing that we are doing is able to rest some of our veteran guys. We're able to rest Kyron for a longer period of time. We're able to rest Rodney for a longer period of time. We're able to rest Jalen for a longer period of time. So when we come back with those guys, they're really fresh. So, so while these other guys on the other team are logging long minutes, we're able to come in with a fresh group. And, we've actually built on our leads when we've had them, when we come in with those veterans that have been on the bench for 2-3 minutes. Now you use the timeout to rest them, and now they should be fresh and ready to, try to take us home to a win.
It's really kind of an interesting dichotomy. Sorry, big word there. But it's a little different sort of, I guess, example of what we've seen in the last few years because you're used to playing guys for long minutes. I mean, 3 years ago, Bryce Cotton led the Big East in minutes played 39.5 minutes a game. But you've been able to sort of develop as you go along to where the point now is somebody that's going to play 30 minutes a game is really an exception to that particular rule.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is you want to try to get your veterans to get to probably 28 to 32 minutes. But you want them to exhaust themselves defensively, cut hard, screen hard. You know, you want to that to me is an ideal range of number, and that allows you to get them rest. That allows you to develop those other guys because you constantly have to be in motion and thought, what if somebody gets hurt?
Right.
Do they have enough game experience? Are they in practice enough? So that's in back of your head, too, to make sure if something happens, that next man is able to come up and contribute to help us win.
All right, so you've got this mix now, and now you're developing this mix as you go along. Will there be a time, I mean, will it continue during the preseason or during the non-conference? Will there be a time when the Big East Wars begin where you might think about cutting it back? Or is your game plan, at least if all things work out perfectly, to try to stay with what you have in terms of the number of guys you play to see if you can't continue to work on that depth and tire other teams out?
I'm going to try to use our whole roster. You know, all of them have earned the opportunity to play. It's difficult to do. Sometimes it messes with you, but at the same time, we want to do what's right for our program and whatever we got to do to win. Some days you may play 10. Some days you may play 6. You don't know. You know, whatever the game dictates, we as the coaching staff need to do the right thing.
You're not adverse to riding a hot hand.
Not at all. Not at all. Yeah, I mean, if somebody's rolling, the team gets it. At case in point, we were playing against, it was in New York. I think it may have been against Washington.
Mm-hmm.
We were ready to make a substitution, and we couldn't take Drew out the game. I said, nope, you know, let's just ride and see what happens.
And he was a huge reason you won that game.
Probably the main reason why we won it, as far as, you know, having somebody come off the bench and give us a really, really big boost. So it really is a credit to the character of the players as much as they want to play. We got to totally buy into the whole the whole us deal as far as trying to get a win. You know what I mean? And
seems like you're doing that, though.
Well, the biggest
guys definitely seem to be buying into the system.
Sacrifice. And that's the biggest word we used September when we had our first team meeting was this team is going to have to sacrifice more than any team that they've ever played on because of the numbers, sheer numbers, and the amount that we have. And sometimes there's a gap with athleticism, but they may not have the knowledge. They may have the knowledge, but not the length. They may have the length, but not the strength. So there's a lot of different pieces that as a staff we have to come together and say, okay, what group at this particular time of the game can we put out there where we can try to get a win?
Talk a little bit about strong suits. We'll also talk about where these guys may fit in certain situations as well. And, yep, we are going to talk about URI. It's all coming up as we continue with the Ed Cooley Radio Show presented by East Commerce Solutions. Tonight, we're at Union Station Brewery in downtown Providence. We're glad you're with us on 103.7 WEEI FM.
All my Ford F-150s.
Only from Flood Ford.
In East Greenwich.
And Flood Ford Lincoln in Narragansett.
They have the best selection.
And service.
Rock bottom pricing.
And the most helpful staff.
In all new Ford F-150s starting at just $149 per month. Shop Flood Ford today.
Flood Ford and Flood Ford Lincoln, Rhode Island's #1 Ford F-150 dealer.
Hey, Mr. Thompson, you know how you were so mad about going over on your mobile data plan? Well, we're Cox customers, and this is one of over 500,000 Cox hotspots, totally included in most Cox internet packages. Look, go to your mobile settings, click on Cox Wi-Fi, then plug in your Cox username and password, and then you're on Wi-Fi. And you can, stream that video of my band, literally no problem.
Find free hotspots because you're a Cox high-speed internet customer. Cox.com/learn.
I'm John Rooke, the voice of your Providence College Friars men's basketball team. It's that time of year again. And there's nothing like a sold-out crowd at the Dunkin' Donuts Center. One thing I've learned calling Friar basketball over the years is that anything can happen on game day. Legends have played on this court, creating memories that have lasted a lifetime. It's time to make more. This is Friar Town.
Ashton and Richard Insurance has been serving clients in Rhode Island and Massachusetts for many years. We represent the finest insurance companies in the industry, providing insurance coverage for every possible business, including the automotive industry, apartments, nonprofits, restaurants, manufacturing contractors, and all retail and office operations. Ashton and Richard is an independent insurance agency. We will choose the right company and design a program to fit your needs and budget. Call Ashton and Richard at 401-766-4200. We will solve your insurance problems.
Jeanette, you know how during our date, we couldn't remember the name of that show we both liked. We're Cox customers. We can find it on Contour. Last 9 viewed. My grandkids are here. Home improvement shows. More like this. We liked House Hunters. That's the name of it.
Grandpa, you have a girlfriend?
We're not using labels.
That's a yes.
Watch more, search less, because you're a Cox customer. Cox.com/learn.
For the game. For my team. For bragging rights. For the stage. Ocean State Tip-Off Tournament. Are you in?
Deep shot. You want more of that? We got you. Hundreds and hundreds of live games.
A gorgeous spin.
Get the full season.
All season long.
No sweat. Oh, you just want to watch your team.
Yes, sir.
We got you. Anytime, anywhere. It's that easy. To order NBA League Pass, call 844-371-3529.
Welcome back, everybody, once again to the Ed Cooley Radio Show, presented by East Commerce Solutions at the Union Station Brewery in downtown Providence. John Rooke with the head coach of the Friars, Ed Cooley. You know, we were just talking a couple of moments ago about the new players and how they're trying to fit into this rotation, this new depth that Providence has for this year, which seems to be the key, one of the key weapons that the Friars have against the opposition this year, is being able to just wear people down. It happened against BC on Saturday night, and we anticipate hopefully some of that happening once the Big East play starts rolling around. But in particular with some of these new guys, we've talked a little about, you know, the two-headed center and sophomore Khalif Young and freshman Nate Watson, and DeJure Dickens will most undoubtedly get some time along the way because foul trouble is bound to happen. But Coach, I wonder if we could take just a couple of moments to take a look at each one of those newcomers, plus a couple of the sophomores who are seeing considerable more time this year than they did, say, last year as a freshman. Sure. Khalif being one of those, just to kind of get a visual of where you feel their key improvements have come and where you need them to improve now for them to be the kind of player you need them to be. So let's start first of all with the freshman, and I guess we could start right in the middle with Big Nate, because Nate had one of the best throwdown, rebound stuffs of a basket that we've seen in the Duncan sometime. He literally lit the crowd on fire on Saturday night against BC.
He did, and you know, Nate is one of my favorite guys of all time as far as his personality. He always has a lot of energy. He's learning, he's growing, he's developing. He's someone who, as he's in practice more, is continuing to improve. Nate is somebody who tries to pay attention to detail, doesn't just do it on talent. I think the more the season goes on, the better he's going to get. You know, he has to improve on just terminology, you know, because he's really big on trying to please you. So he's going to be fun to watch, and we're excited to watch him grow.
Well, Nate's averaging 7.3 points, 3.3 rebounds in his first 6 games as a Friar. Undoubtedly, you'd like that rebounding total to start taking a move northward.
Absolutely, and that's the one thing we talked about. He's got to be more assertive and more urgent going to either a loose ball, rebounding out of his area. And if he doesn't rebound, the guy behind him or beside him, he can't get the rebound either. So, meaning from a defensive standpoint. So we don't want to give up any offensive rebounds. But Nate, I'm very proud of Nate. I'm very, very happy where his progress is right now.
Mekhi Ashton Langford is the other freshman that's getting considerable time right now. The freshman from Worcester, Mass, by way of Brewster Academy, is averaging a little over 5.5 points and 2 assists per game. And he comes in primarily to give Kyron a rest at the point, but we've also seen you use Mekhi at the point and keep Kyron in as the off guard. So what's the thinking behind that process?
Well, Mekhi is, he's a natural talent. Right now, he's more athlete than thinker, and we got to get him to be both because he's very capable of being both. As he said, this is all new to him coming off the bench. He's never come off the bench in his career. So he's learning and thinking. And with all of our guards, especially the freshman point guards that come in, we want them to be the point with somebody who's already played the point, because if something breaks down, you always have Kyron right there to try to help. And we did the same thing with Kyron and with Chris. We did the same thing with Chris when the first year he was with Vince and Bryce.
Mm-hmm.
So we're able just to throw them in there to get them comfortable, to get them floor time. But one thing Mekhi can do, he can break a defense down, no problem.
We've seen that. And his move with his right hand to the left side of the basket, where he'll flip that ball and spin it up from the right hand to left off the is remarkable. I mean, it's nothing but net kisses right off the glass perfectly every time. Great move.
He's a great finisher, and what we're trying to get Mekhi is be able to be a dual threat, to be a penetrating pitch guy, a penetrating score guy. He's a better shooter than he has shown. He's made a lot of shots in practice. But Mekhi, again, all freshmen, DeJour, Nate, and Mekhi, what they're trying to do now is learn. And that's the toughest thing, especially when you're on a team that has a lot of veteran players that have game experience. And all the guys on our roster have all had game experience other than them.
You mentioned DeJour, and he hasn't had a ton of time off the bench, 2 points and a rebound. He's played in 4 of the 6 games thus far. And I think most people realize that he's a work in progress. But there are some things that he can definitely bring to the table. He can bring explosiveness when you have him in there. And, yes, he can defend the rim. And so my question really about DeJour is, will this team potentially try to take advantage of his ability to defend that rim and maybe see some 2-3 zone on occasion?
We may. DeJour is definitely a work in progress. He does things you can't coach. He's a naturally gifted athlete. Another person who overthinks right now. I think, he's got to get a little stronger.
Yes.
He's got to get a little bit more dialed into detail. But he's somebody who's very young, learning how to be 7 foot on a team where there are guys that are not as tall but thicker and more physical. I think this is his first experience in basketball where he feels like he's being overwhelmed with physicality. Now, his length, his ability to rebound the ball, but he does things in practice, not so much in the game because he hasn't had the opportunity with a lot of game minutes. You just can't coach. Those things are just natural, and over time, I think DeJour will become a household name. It's just taking him a little bit longer than he wants.
How about a couple of the sophomores in particular? Let's start with Khalif, only because you saw the, potential in him, or he was rewarded by starting early in the season for what he worked on in the offseason. His turnaround at the free throw line has been nothing short of remarkable. He's doubled his average. He's over 70% from the foul line. He was 35% a year ago.
Well, we work on it every day in practice. His 2 free throws against Belmont, to me, I think, although Kyron won the game, we couldn't have got to that position.
If he doesn't hit those free throws, that's exactly right.
So he's concentrating. We need him to become a better defensive rebounder, and I thought he keyed in on that against Boston College, particularly in the second half, and we need him to finish his post moves in front of the rim. That's his development stage, and continue to be a ferocious defender in the interior.
2 other sophomores I wanted to touch on here that are showing real promise and I think great excitement as far as this Friar basketball team is concerned. One of them is Alpha Diallo, and Alpha seems to have grown more than we even imagined he could possibly. He showed great promise at the end of last year. I think 6 of his last 15 games he averaged more than 15 points per game a year ago. So you could see that he was on the verge of breaking out. But it's not just his scoring, which is now beginning to pick up. It's his defensive effort on the floor most of the time that is just lockdown defense. And when you have him and Jalen Lindsey defending like they're capable of defending, I don't know how a team breaks your perimeter.
Well, they definitely took the challenge the other night against Boston College, and we tried to every game, you know, for everybody who's watching and everybody who's listening, is we try to put Alpha on somebody's best offensive player regardless of position. You know, now if it's a 6'9", 250-pound guy, we're not going to put him on him. We're going to have Rodney or Jalen guard that position, or Emmett. I mean, I'm sorry, or Khalif or Nate.
Right.
But Alpha's overall game has developed. His scoring, his passing, his rebounding, his body. I actually think Alpha's one of the few guys I've ever coached that has grown in college. You know, I think he's grown at least an inch and a half. And that's not – you don't find too many young men.
So he's a
grow.
legit 6'7", 220.
Right. Yes. Well, I don't. I think we made him lose a couple of pounds.
Did you?
Yeah, because he was too big.
Okay.
You know, but he's in great shape. You know, and he's playing at a high level. We're playing him anywhere between the 1 and the 4. So we're playing him all over the court, having him handle the ball, having him facilitate offense, having him in the post. As you saw, I mean, we've posted him every game this year. Isolate him a little bit off the elbows. He's doing well. I mean, I think his growth as well as Malik has made a really big jump.
He was the next one I was asking about.
I think Malik has made a really big jump. He's improving his decision-making. He's improving his shooting a ton. He's playing with a ton of confidence. And the role we want Malik to be in is like the microwave.
That's amazing that you said that, because we've actually used that on the radio.
Is that right?
I called him, and I've compared him to Vinnie Johnson of Detroit Piston fame, who was known as the microwave because he could come in and just instantly start an offense from his mere appearance from the bench. That's how he carved a, 14, 15-year career in the NBA out for himself, and Malik can be the same type of player. Instant energy and offense off the bench.
One of my favorite guys that I've coached as far as his person, he's a funny young man. He's tough, and, you know, he's somebody that we want to, he along with Drew, come off and give us an instant spark, whether it's scoring, whether it's toughness, taking a charge, moving the ball. But, you know, I really like the way that sophomore class is growing each game. Not each game, I think they've all improved.
Pretty good start for those guys. The future's still looking bright for this basketball team. They've won 4 in a row. They're 5-1 right now as they get ready to go into a busy week, playing Rider College on Wednesday and the University of Rhode Island on Saturday. And we talk about those matchups coming up as we continue once again with the Ed Cooley Radio Show, presented by East Commerce Solutions, tonight from Union Station Brewery in downtown Providence on 103.7 WEEI FM.
For the game. For my team. For bragging rights. For the stage. Ocean State Tip-Off Tournament. Are you in?
Hey, Mr. Thompson, you know how you were so mad about going over on your mobile data plan? Well, we're Cox customers, and this is one of over 500,000 Cox hotspots, totally included in most Cox internet packages. Look, go to your mobile settings, click on Cox Wi-Fi, then plug in your Cox username and password, and then you're on Wi-Fi. And you can, stream that video of my band, literally no problem.
Find free hotspots because you're a Cox high-speed internet customer. Cox.com/learn.
Ashton & Richard Insurance has been serving clients in Rhode Island and Massachusetts for many years. We represent the finest insurance companies in the industry, providing insurance coverage for every possible business, including the automotive industry, apartments, nonprofits, restaurants, manufacturing contractors, and all retail and office operations. Ashton & Richard is an independent insurance agency. We will choose the right company and design a program to fit your needs and budget. Call Ashton & Richard at 401-766-4200. We will solve your insurance problems.
Jeanette, you know how during our date, we couldn't remember the name of that show we both liked. We're Cox customers. We can find it on Contour. Last 9 viewed. My grandkids are here. Home improvement shows. More like this. We liked House Hunters. That's the name of it.
Grandpa, you have a girlfriend?
We're not using labels.
That's a yes.
Watch more, search less, because you're a Cox customer. Cox.com/learn.
I buy all my Ford F-150s.
Only from Flood Ford.
In East Greenwich.
And Flood Ford Lincoln in Narragansett. They have the best selection.
And service.
Rock bottom pricing.
And the most helpful staff.
In all new Ford F-150s starting at just $149 per month. Shop Flood Ford today.
Flood Ford and Flood Ford Lincoln, Rhode Island's #1 Ford F-150 dealer.
I'm John Rooke, the voice of your Providence College Friars men's basketball team. It's that time of year again. And there's nothing like a sold-out crowd at the Dunkin' Donuts Center. One thing I've learned calling Friar basketball over the years is that anything can happen on game day. Legends have played on this court, creating memories that have lasted a lifetime. It's time to make more. This is Friar Town.
Watch the newest movies the best way possible with Movies on Demand from Cox.
Where are we going?
Dunkirk. Take me home. There's no hiding from this sun. Take me home.
Dunkirk. The best way to watch movies is Movies on Demand from Cox. Just go to Channel 1 to order instantly.
Once again, we welcome you back to Union Station Brewery in downtown Providence as we continue with the Ed Cooley radio show presented by East Commerce Solutions. Here on 103.7 WEI-FM and, of course, on Cox Your View tonight. So, once again, Ed, we're not uglying up the cameras enough to where people are turning everything off tonight.
Hey, you're a handsome guy. Look at his face. Look at his face. A little close-up on him.
No, you can't see me.
Unbelievable. Look at that thing.
I'm going to do the John Cena thing.
Unbelievable.
Man, that's why I got out of TV a long time ago, Coach. Trust me on that one. We've talked a little about the schedule thus far. You've got 6 games under your belt, 5-1, won 4 in a row. You went to New York. You had a very successful tournament, winning the 2K Classic. You beat a team in a Football 5 conference in Washington in the first round, and you beat an improving St. Louis team out of the Atlantic 10 of the championship game at Madison Square Garden. So you guys get a chance now to have a little bit of that MSG, a little bit of that New York style and experience well in advance of March when you're going to need it the most to play in the tournament. But the rest of the non-conference slate, before you get to Big East battles. Very important here to note that, not only do you need it to get you ready for Big East play, but you also need it to score points in the eyes of the NCAA Tournament Committee, because if you're rating well in something known as the RPI, the Ratings Percentage Index, then and you're showing up well in the polls and people are talking about you and you're in the media and people are saying, oh, yeah, that's a good win for Providence or that's not. As long as you have people talking about you, you're in the mix somewhere, and that's a good thing, and I think we've learned that. But you guys seem to have kind of gathered the formula over the last few years of what you really need to be aware of in order to put yourself in that mix for postseason tournament play. We've mentioned a little bit before on this show where you have Brian Blaney take care of a lot of your scheduling. You identify a lot of these potential opponents that are out there when you're looking to build a schedule from year to year. What have you guys talked about philosophy-wise that you can share with us, that what's really important? Because fans always want to know, hey, how come we can't get an SEC school for a home and home? Or how come we can't play another Big Ten team, even though you do every year in the Gavitt games? But what's the thought process behind trying to balance the need with the want?
Well, scheduling is, outside of recruiting, scheduling is probably the second most important thing when you take a job. You can schedule yourself into a tournament based on the RPI, and I think Brian Blaney, to me, has become one of the smartest strategic guys for scheduling. When we look at non-conference opponents, we know that Carolina, Arizona, Duke, those schools, UCLA, they're not. First of all, the ACC schools don't need to come here to play because they have the market in Boston College. So they don't feel if they have kids that they're recruiting from New England, they can get to a game at Boston College. So you got to take those ACC schools right out. Then you'd say the SEC. What is the benefit for an SEC school to come up and play a Providence College team? So historically, if you go back through the history of Providence College, in particular when it got to the Big East, how many of those football schools have come to play Providence College in a home and home? You can probably count on 2 hands. You had Florida come here, right? Mm-hmm. Because probably Billy. You had you probably had Rick Pitino Barnes come here because he coached here. And then the rest have probably all been because of tournaments. We try to schedule all those guys. But just like when we schedule Kentucky, okay, we'll play you at Rupp, but we don't. You have to play us in a neutral site. So we played them at the Barclays. You know, I don't know how many times you can continue to do that because it cheats our fans. You know, our fans deserve to have people play at the Dunkin' Donuts Center, but we can't get those. So what's the next best thing? How do we schedule an RPI game that you have an opportunity to play a competitive game in your place? And that's where our scheduling comes in to who we want to play. So you want to play a team we feel that could win their league, win 20 to 30 games in their league, and give us an opportunity to have RPI points because of it. They're getting ready to change this whole RPI deal with tiers of how you play. So they're going to put way more credibility in a road game and a neutral game versus a home game.
Because schools like Providence, as well as obviously mid-majors and low-majors around the country, are having trouble scheduling games.
Yes.
So the college basketball committee of the NCAA, and I know you guys have probably talked about that in the Coaches Association, that the board that you're on, is trying to make it more equitable for everyone concerned. But this is a rule where the emphasis on road games now could also help you.
Yeah, which is great. I mean, we're trying to, like, right now we're scheduling for 2018, 2019, 2019, 2020. And, you know, we need X amount of appearances at the Dunkin' Donuts Center, A, for our season ticket holders, A, to pay the bills.
Yeah, you got to drive revenue. This is your money sport.
Right. And the thing is, in scheduling, no one promised fair.
Right.
You know, so as much as we want it, you still have to be who you are. And what we have done, all you want to do is give yourself an opportunity is to get to the tournament. Once you get to that field of 68, all bets are off.
Right.
That's when you have an opportunity to play against the best of the best. And let's face it, our draws over the last 4 years haven't been the most equitable, put it that way. You know what I mean? Now, I could have done a much better job coaching the team. That falls on my lap. But I definitely haven't been given a hand where it's on an even playing field. You know what I'm saying? So when you look at playing Carolina in Carolina, that's a tough out. As a matter of fact, they've never lost an opening round game when they've played in Carolina. Like, did I say never?
Yeah.
Never. Yeah. So, you know, I don't think Providence is going to be some.
Seems like we talked about that a couple of years ago in the NCAAs, didn't we?
I think we did. Yeah, but I'm just saying, as long as we're doing the right thing, scheduling, we're trying to get teams to play us. We call all around the country. We use our connections. It's hard. Like, you know, University of Rhode Island, who wants to go to the Ryan Center to play that team as they built their program? That's an unbelievable team. Now, if I'm somewhere, I'm not coming to Rhode Island to play them there. Why? Why? They don't need.
What's the benefit?
Yeah. First of all, who needs Providence College? I from being the head coach, I would love for them to come here. I would love to have a home-and-home series with the best of the best. But if you can't get
But you look at it from an Arkansas point of view, or you look at it from a Michigan State point of view, or a UCLA point of view, and I'm using some extreme examples here. But really, what's the draw here? And you have to say, there isn't one.
There isn't. And sometimes, you have kids who've been recruited in that area that maybe, just maybe, a coach may say, okay, I want to bring this kid home. But if a coach is doing that out of the region and they're bringing a kid home, that kid is probably really, really good.
Right.
So you may not want to play him.
Right. Exactly. That's exactly right.
You know what I mean? So we're doing the best we can to bring the best teams we can to the Dunkin' Donuts Center. And I know our fans want to see, quote, unquote, the Blue Bloods come. But when you do your homework historically, that tells you who's coming to the Dunkin' Donuts Center. Until the whole formula changes, then maybe we can get.
But you guys, though, seem like you're in position now where should that formula change, and we do expect some of it to change starting next year.
Yes.
Then you're in position perhaps to take advantage of it.
Well, I think we're more of a draw for an opponent to bring Providence to somebody because
you are now because of your recent success.
Yes. So I think you may be more attractive from a competitive home-and-home game.
Right.
So I mean that could help you too, and especially if we're fortunate to keep building our program to becoming more relevant nationally versus regionally. I think we're trending toward that.
Yet you still have to have a couple of bye games in there as well.
I think everybody across the country has, games that they have to get comfortable playing in their own building. They have to, try to get some confidence if you can. We're going to have one of those games come Wednesday. and it's a competitive game. It's a game where Ryder will be in the top half of that league, the MAC, of which I've coached in. Very, very good teams. They're well coached. They shoot a ton of threes. They have one of the best freshman guards in the country. I'm really happy for Coach Baggett and what he's been able to do there at Ryder. Their AD and I have become very, very close friends. That's a team that is going to give us everything we can if we don't come prepared to play.
We'll talk about that matchup with the Bronx of Ryder on Wednesday night and the Rhode Island Rams coming up as we continue with the Ed Cooley Radio Show presented by East Commerce Solutions. Again tonight from Union Station Brewery in Providence on 103.7 WEEI FM.
Rooke, the voice of your Providence College Friars men's basketball team. It's that time of year again. And there's nothing like a sold-out crowd at the Dunkin' Donuts Center. One thing I've learned calling Friar basketball over the years is that anything can happen on game day. Legends have played on this court, creating memories that have lasted a lifetime. It's time to make more. This is Friartown.
With Cox high-speed internet, you get access to super-fast in-home Wi-Fi to power all your devices and do the things you love online. And now, when you're traveling, you have free access to the nation's largest Wi-Fi network with over 500,000 hotspots, so you can stay connected in places such as New York City, Los Angeles, Washington, D.C., Phoenix, and many more. Learn how with the Cox Discover More video series at cox.com/learn.
Ashton and Richard Insurance has been serving clients in Rhode Island and Massachusetts for many years. We represent the finest insurance companies in the industry, providing insurance coverage for every possible business, including the automotive industry, apartments, nonprofits, restaurants, manufacturing contractors, and all retail and office operations. Ashton and Richard is an independent insurance agency. We will choose the right company and design a program to fit your needs and budget. Call Ashton and Richard at 401-766-4200. We will solve your insurance problems.
In the blink of an eye, cities fall, heroes rise. A heartbeat skips as a man slips gravity's grip, and heartbreak leaps from the brink in a blink. Just think of all the games, teams, hopes, and dreams that live and die because greatness lies in the blink of an eye. This is the sports app on Contour from Cox. Cable TV reimagined to get you right to the good stuff.
I buy all my Ford F-150s.
Only from Flood Ford.
In East Greenwich.
And Flood Ford Lincoln in Narragansett. They have the best selection.
And service.
Rock bottom pricing.
And the most helpful staff.
In all new Ford F-150s starting at just $149 per month. Shop Flood Ford today.
Flood Ford and Flood Ford Lincoln, Rhode Island's #1 Ford F-150 dealer.
Hey, Mr. Thompson, you know how you were so mad about going over on your mobile data plan? Well, we're Cox customers. And this is one of over 500,000 Cox hotspots, totally included in most Cox internet packages. Look, go to your mobile settings, click on Cox Wi-Fi, then plug in your Cox username and password, and then you're on Wi-Fi. And you can, stream that video of my band, literally no problem.
Find free hotspots because you're a Cox high-speed internet customer. Cox.com/learn.
Join Jane Manzuras on Creative Living as she shares fun and inspiring ideas for enriching your life.
I'm Jane Manzuras, and on the next Creative Living, we're helping you get inspired for Thanksgiving. Learn how to make festive decor for your Thanksgiving table, and we'll introduce you to a new dating website that makes it easier and safer to find your perfect match.
Watch Creative Living only on YourView. Check your local listings for air times or visit yourview.com.
For the game. For my team. For bragging rights. For the stage. Ocean State Tip-Off Tournament. Are you in?
And again, welcome back to the Ed Cooley Radio Show, presented by East Commerce Solutions. Tonight here at Union Station Brewery in Providence. And thanks to the folks here at Union Station Brewery and to the Friar fans that came out today. Thank you very much for coming out and hosting Our Ed Cooley radio show again tonight. Coach, before we talk about the next program in a couple of weeks, very clearly we're just talking about scheduling and RPI and trying to get games that not only you can win, but also that can help you prepare for March and that stretch run. And you know you have at least one of those. Ryder is going to be no pushover, as you just talked about. That Ryder Bronc team is off to a 5-1 start overall. So that's a team that comes in, as you said, shoots a lot of threes, has a really good freshman guard about it. So it's going to challenge your backcourt. It's going to make you guys have to pay attention to defensive detail, especially beginning, because you know when a team comes in and has nothing really to lose, they expect to lose, or everybody expects them to lose, and they come in and then they get a little bit of a sense about them that, you know, hey, maybe we got a shot here. If they stick with you closely, you want to kind of take that out early as best you can, don't you?
We do. We want to play edgy. We want to approach every game the same as far as respecting our opponent and going out and playing as hard as we can. You know, this is one of Coach's better teams that he's coming here with. We played them a couple of years ago, and they're totally different. They're very physical, they're fast, and they're fearless. So, you know, our job is to make sure that they don't get comfortable, in our building. We got to try to use some of our athleticism in that game. They're coming off a great road win at GW, really, really good road win. So they're going to have some confidence. They've already played Xavier, so they've played against the athleticism and size. So, you know, we're going to have our hands full, and we're excited to play them. We want to play each game to improve. We don't want to look past anybody. We're on time, on target, and we're in a Ryder state of mind.
Yeah, I was just going to say that they have played Xavier, so obviously they're not going to shy away from the task at hand against you guys on Wednesday night. They'll come in here fearless, kind of like Belmont did,
Absolutely.
I would imagine.
Absolutely. You know, and Belmont, prior to playing us, played Vanderbilt.
Right.
You know what I mean? With a great win against Vanderbilt at Middle Tennessee State, who was a tournament team last year. So, you know, we're going to have our hands full, but let me tell you, our kids are excited to continue to play, continue to develop. We're already in Game 7. Game 7. So when everybody thinks about that, man, is this thing cooking. It's going fast.
It's going fast.
It seems like every year it gets faster.
I know.
Is that
it's because we get older.
We get more wise.
I don't know about that.
More wise.
I don't know about that. All right, as part of Coach Cooley's winning combination, brought to you by Union Station Brewery. Yeah, you got the big one on Saturday. I know you're of a Ryder state of mind, but we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about the renewal of the rivalry, because now you got to go down to the Ryan Center and play those guys, and you've managed to win the last few.
We've been very fortunate. That game has come down to the last possession, 4 years in a row?
Yeah.
Whether we're home or on the road, the Ryan Center, they do a really good job down there. Their students are very funny, you know, and their program.
Do you see the signs they hold up?
No, I just think it's hilarious going in there, you know. But, you know, they'll be fired up to play the Friars. The Friars will be fired up to play them. It's a game that we expect to be tough. They're a tournament team. They have a great win this year against a former Biggie, a fellow Big East team in Seton Hall.
That ought to get your attention pretty quick.
Well, it's going to have the players' attention. I think that game kind of coaches itself. We just got to continue to improve. Win or lose, did we get better? And that's going to be the story to our team right up until Big East play. And again, if we're fortunate to beat a really good URI team, come tournament time, that'll be a good win if we're fortunate enough to get it.
Just going to say, you know, both teams this week could be those kind of games as long as you keep developing and doing the things that you're supposed to do.
Absolutely. You know, and Danny's done a really good job. Coach Hurley's done a really good job down there. They got a tough culture. I know they got a couple of injuries that they're dealing with, but who doesn't have injuries? We got to play a Ryder team, and then we go down to the Ryan Center, and hopefully this is a 2-0 week for the Friars.
You know, I know that the kids enjoy playing a game like this only because they probably don't get into it like alums do and like students do, or like, you know, fellow students might, or, you know, along those lines. But they know those kids. Those kids play against each other usually over the summertime, don't they?
Sure.
You know, whether they're scrimmaging or whether they're just playing, pickup ball or whatever, these kids know each other.
They know each other not just from pickup, but from AAU basketball.
Sure, especially AAU basketball.
You know, with today's kids and today's AAU game, they play 1,000 games in the summer. So they're familiar with each other well before they even get to that game. But the URI Providence game is a great game for our city, great game for our state. It brings a lot of love-hate relationships together under one roof. Mm-hmm. So we'll see what happens. You know, it is what it is, right? It's a game.
It's a game. That's very true. Well, the game on Wednesday at the Dunk will be a 7 o'clock tip-off. We'll have pregame on 103.7 WEEI FM beginning at 6:45. The URI game on Saturday is a 5 p.m. tip-off. So we'll have the pregame at 4:45 in the afternoon, again, here on 103.7. Should be a lot of fun. I know we always look forward to the emotion that goes to that building.
I'm looking forward to Wednesday against Ryder, and we'll address the URI game on Thursday morning. Until then, man,
yes, sir.
we got to deal with the Ryder Bronx.
I get it. And we'll deal with probably URI again as well on our next Ed Cooley show, which will be on December the 12th. December the 12th, that's a Tuesday night, 7 o'clock, and it'll be at Caserta's Pizzeria up on Federal Hill. So I hope that you'll mark the date down and come out and join us for the live program right here again on 103.7 WEEI-FM. Our copyrighted broadcast is an exclusive presentation of Providence Friars Sports Properties, a property of Learfield under the broadcasting rights granted by Providence College. Our thanks to Mike Tilley tonight for helping set things up here, Matt Morrell, our engineer, and for the head coach, Ed Cooley. I'm John Rooke. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching on Cox Your View. We're glad that you're with us tonight. We see you at the Dunk on Wednesday for the Friars and the Bronx.
Thanks, brother.